Welcome to Carvd Stone podcast, where our positive news articles come to life. I'm your host, Nyesha Stone, and I'm also the founder of Carvd Stone, your weekly source of positive news. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how to break into the hotel industry and what that means when you're actually Black. So our next guest, Amina and Norland James, they recently acquired a $3.85 million hotel inn in Memphis, Tennessee that has 70 rooms. They took their experience from investing in Hilton a few years ago and brought that to today to become hotel owners. So please let me welcome Amina and Norland James. Hey, y'all.
Hey,
Hello.
great to
Hey, how
be
y'all doing?
good.
Doing well.
Doing well.
Well, thank y'all for coming on the podcast. I saw your story, like I just said, on Black Enterprise, and I was like, oh, we in the hotel industry. I've interviewed a Black woman who's a manager in hotels. So for y'all to be owners, I think that's the next step up. So if we can just dive back a little bit. So I know you both have experience in real estate, but what brought y'all to real estate exactly, and then we'll get into the hotels.
Okay, you want to start with
Okay.
yours.
Yeah, so I'll start. So while I was in the military, I'm retired vet 20 years. So while I was in the military, I bought my first property in Fayetteville, North Carolina, a long-term rental. And at the time, I thought I was going to really focus on the long-term rentals. So I bought a second property in North Carolina, and I PCS to the DC area. And while PCS into the DC area, I met this wonderful lady over here. And we really started thinking about what do we want to do.
I think you should tell them the story about why you decided to buy.
Okay.
Oh, remember? Because when you were deployed overseas, and yeah.
Okay. So let me go back.
Even further.
Yeah, let me go back. So why did I decide to buy? It was more or less before back in 2006, I was getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan. And I was renting a home at the time with another roommate. We were both he was actually getting ready to he was PCSing somewhere else, and I was getting ready to head downrange to Afghanistan. I had a realtor for a property manager?
Like a landlord.
A landlord. Mm-hmm. So while I was in Afghanistan, I got an email from the landlord stating that I didn't make all the repairs that need to be done on the house, and I wouldn't get my security deposit back. That made me really upset. So you think, I'm stressed overseas, not getting my deposit back. So I made a decision, when I redeployed, I was never going to rent again, because of that experience. So getting back, I bought my first property because of that experience. I bought my first property, and I decided to, buy my second property, which brings us to I PCS to DC, where I met this wonderful woman.
We always knew when we met back in 2015 that we wanted to do some type of business together. Obviously we love each other. We're husband and wife. But
I can see.
So we actually get along really well, like with business stuff. A lot of couples, they decide to keep business and their like romantic life or their marriage separate because they don't gel well. It just always worked for us whenever we had tough. We ran our wedding planning like I would say a business operation. Yeah. It always worked well together. So we do a big trip every summer for our birthdays. So we got back from Italy in 2019, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do next. We knew we wanted to do like an Airbnb type situation. We were like, well, let's buy some type of business, just regular talk. Let's buy a business. So we looked at some bakeries and restaurants and gyms. Gyms, yeah. And then out of nowhere, I call it divine intervention.
Yes.
I just got the thought, like, I can't say it's out of nowhere, it was God, but I just got the thought, like, let's buy a hotel. I knew nothing about hotels, neither did he. Didn't grow up in the hospitality field, didn't go to school for hospitality. We didn't know you could buy hotels, but something about me, I've always loved hotels. So I was like, let's buy a hotel. So we were like, okay, cool. So we looked into that. We made a lot of mistakes at first. 2019 was not a good first year of investing for us. But since then, we've learned a lot and now gotten to the level of where we're not just limited partner investors, but owners, general partners.
I love it. So can we back up a little bit? So how did y'all get to investing in the Hilton, and what experiences did y'all learn from there that's now helping y'all with y'all ownership now?
Mhm. So basically, after we started Googling in 2019, like how to buy a hotel or whatever, we found a whole bunch of people online, young Black people that were doing it already. So we found like Omari Head. He was the very first person we met with to talk about hotels with. Davon Reeves, Tracy Prigmore, Kendra Plummer, all of them, got to know them. Such great insight. And then we would sign up for everyone's listservs. And then so I got involved with a program called She Has a Deal, which is for aspiring women hoteliers, or women who are aspiring to be hoteliers. And I joined that pitch competition. And then at the same time, we would get emails from like the different aspiring hoteliers about projects they had coming up. And in 2020, we got an email from Davon saying she had a project coming up in Oklahoma. So we were like, oh, okay, let's do that. And then in 2021, we got an email from Kendra's listserv saying that she had a project coming up in Georgia. So we're like, okay. And obviously we were intentional about investing in Black women-owned hotels. So that was just like the cherry on top. As far as how that helped us with getting to the ownership, you're good at explaining.
Yeah. So I would say limited partnership, that really allowed us to, the number one, the experience of hotel ownership, but not really, not in the sense of owning, hotel.
Not all the liability.
Right, not all the liability. So during that time, we really learned the industry. And I would say that's probably the best decision we ever made. Instead of jumping right into, owning a hotel, we had to really learn the process. Mm-hmm. So limited partnership, that was kind of like stepping stones.
It gave us PD. It gave us access to the owners themselves. Yeah. They became personal friends of ours. So we were able to always ask them questions like about the day-to-day operations, and they would be really transparent about like how things were running, challenges they encountered, great things that were happening, how to deal with certain people, certain positions in the industry, lenders, brokers, people doing inspections. We just got to see the process from start to finish.
So when I'm getting from it, you were able to, I got this idea. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to Google. Shout out to Google. They're great. And then y'all was able to find a network, and specifically people that look like you. I think that always matters, that representation. Because like you said, I didn't know we could own hotels. I just recently figured that out like a year ago when I interviewed someone, and she was like a manager, and she said the exact same thing. She was like, I never thought we could own hotels. So to anyone listening to this, you can own a hotel.
If we could do it, definitely anybody could do it, because we were just regular people with 9-to-5 jobs, and we still have our 9-to-5 jobs. So it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna be quitting them 9-to-5 soon. They're gonna be super rich. So so Memphis, Tennessee. So I was reading in an article that it said that was like kind of like a hot spot, like it had the most like successful like recovery after the pandemic, correct?
Yeah, it was one of the most successful recoveries in the Mid-South, compared to some of the other larger larger metropolitan areas. It was on par with like in Atlanta, Nashville. So it had a really decent post-pandemic recovery.
What are some plans that y'all have for like the end? Like specifically when it comes to like being Black owners, because I know like we do things a little bit differently. So like, are there anything that the customers or people should be expecting when it comes to like you guys redeveloping, or how are you guys going about the end itself?
Yeah, I would say like right now we're looking at giving the hotel a brand new look, brand new face. I would say we have a $500,000 PIT.
Property
improvement plan that we're going to put on the hotel to bring it up to standards. We want to customer service. We want to make sure the customer service is up, and we want one thing that we want to do is we want for guests, when they come and stay in our hotel, I want them to really having experience of this looks like a luxury hotel. I mean, well, I know maybe a little bit, what's the word?
Exaggerated.
Exaggerating. But I want them to know that this is a really nice, really nice hotel, and want them to wake up and to think, wow, this is just as good as a Hilton, just as good as a, Hampton.
Just because it's a Quality Inn, it's an economy hotel, it doesn't mean that it can't be nice. And, economy travelers are increasing. We're in the middle of a rough economic time, but people still want to travel. So more and more people are choosing to stay in lower priced economy hotels, but they still want good accommodations. So we want to make sure that our economy hotel, our mid-scale hotel, is a representation of something nice, and people are getting their money's worth when we do, implement rate increases, because there are going to be quality increases.
And I would say, both of us, we're not going to do anything half. We're
took
not.
The words out my mouth.
Yeah, we're not going to do anything half.
Yeah, it's not in our DNA to do stuff halfway. He's more extra than I am. He's just like, I have to pull him back sometimes. Like, this really isn't a Marriott, so we don't have to spend this much money on this. Like, it still has to be in line with the brand. Right. People are expecting certain things when they walk into a Quality Inn. That doesn't mean that it's going to be low budget or whatever, but they're expecting, they're not expecting a 5-star breakfast. They're expecting something they can grab really quick, sit down, have a quick bite, and be on about their day. So, yeah.
Yeah, but again, we have a certain standard that we want to stick to.
Yeah. A
personal standard.
Mm-hmm. And that's what always matters, like your why, like why you're doing it in the first place, and then making sure that you always stay, home to your brand. I think that's super important. What advice would you give to people, especially the Black community, about being business owners? Not even necessarily just, owning hotels, whether it's like, owning real estate or owning a brick and mortar, because I know you guys talked about like restaurants and stuff like that. Like, what advice would you give to, being able to get to the point where you're acquiring $3.8 million properties, or, you're getting all this coverage now from Black Enterprise Society, Carvd and Stone, and in other places?
I would say, number one, know the environment, know what you want to do. Focus on that. Number two, with hotels, you may have I have my partner, she's my wife. Know your partner. If you and your partner have got to jail, and with us, and with acquiring this hotel, we don't want to just focus on money. That's not our focus, because we want to look, we want to broaden that. We want to help out. We want to, I don't know how, but help the community out. And we want to start by making the hotel, I always say, a beacon. Because I mean, the hotel right now, it's getting up there, it's getting to where we want it to be, but it takes time. And, to reach out to the community to, I don't know, help them any way we can. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I mean, we've already been in talks with our local councilwoman. We reside in Maryland, but since we're business owners in the district, we've talked with our councilwoman about how we can assist with any neighborhood initiatives, and we have a meeting coming up with the county commissioner. I would say definitely get your finances in order, because even though we couldn't do it without our 31 investors. We have a cohort of 31 investors, 30 of who identify as African American, and most of who are first-time hotel investors. So we definitely couldn't do it without them. But we also had to have our personal finances together, because as the majority owners of the hotel, we're responsible for everything financially and the day-to-day operations of the hotel. So we got vetted really hard by the lender that we got the loan from, especially since it was a SBA loan. So the SBA loan is a government loan. Definitely for Black folks, take advantage of the government loans. It's just a really good way to break into business and get decent interest rates, because there's a lot of, even though it's it can be a difficult vetting process, there's a lot of positives to having an SBA loan. And I would also say, So my dad's a English and African American studies professor. And when we closed, he said to us, I forget which famous Black writer said this, but he's like, so and so said that the most radical thing you could do is open a business in the Black community, because you're circulating money through the community and you're giving people from the community jobs. At least that should be a thought of yours, to give people from the community jobs. And that's what we're doing. We've added positions to the hotel, to our maintenance department. We actually created a maintenance department. Yeah, we hired a Black woman general manager in her first general manager position. She was previously an assistant general manager at another position, and she's on salary. We've increased wages for our employees, especially the ones that decide to stay with us through the transition. So we see that as part of our impact, and we see that as really the epitome of economic impact. When you open a Black-owned business, it's really your responsibility to keep those dollars Black.
Circulating, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know any other way to say it.
No, you hit it right on the head. I totally agree. My overall goal with Carvd Stone is to hire Black and brown journalists. I've done it before. Need some more funding to, make it sustainable. But staying on the topic of funding, so you have investors. How did you go about finding the right investors, and then how did you go about pitching to them?
So we got a lot of referrals. We kind of took notes from the sponsors that we had worked with, because of course we had the experience of investing in their hotels. So we kind of looked like, how did they go about finding us? It was great because we had been in that position before. So we knew as investors, like what we had looked for, so we could target investors ourselves. Just through the community. There's also NABHOOD, which is the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers. Met a few people through there. And then you have to be very thorough. Our investors really like us because they know we don't play any games when it comes to business. Like we're very, we're two Virgos. Our birthdays are 2 days apart.
Yeah, Virgos, me too. August 30th.
Hey, we're the 27th to 29th. So
what's up?
And I love August Virgos. September Virgos is a different story. Norland knows how I feel about September Virgos, but so you're good with me. So it's like always.
Oh, trust me, I know. I meet so many people. Like I'm in a couple of programs now, and they be like, "You're the most organized person I have ever met when it comes to business." And they like, "We have dealt with people who've been in business for years," and I just be like, "It only makes sense. Like I have to be organized, or I'm not going to get anything done."
Exactly. That's just so it's always like 110%. So that played over really well when we were pitching to people, because they're like, man, they really did their research and like they can answer any question. One of our investors, she actually turned us down at first, and she came back a few weeks later, was like, well, I have some extra money. And, I decided to come back. And I was like, well, what changed your mind? I was like, I asked her, what changed your mind? And she said, well, I've worked in this business for a lot of years, and I've worked with people who own major hotel companies, and they couldn't answer questions as well as you did. And so that's basically it. Like you have to be thorough. You have to know what you're talking about.
And one of your questions was how do we know these were good investors? Because one thing that we did, again, transparent, we no holds barred. We didn't want to keep anything from our investors. So some of those investors, they heard our pitch, and it's kind of like I don't know. It's my first investment. I don't know. This is not a Marriott. This is not a Hilton. I don't know. But other investors, they really understood what we were saying and really took a chance, and they understood that we made mistakes in the past, and we learned from those mistakes, and we took the things that we learned towards this deal. That's why this deal has been so successful.
Yeah, we didn't just take anybody. Yeah. We definitely there had to be a good vibe. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you're stuck with these people for years. At least 5, usually more. For some projects, ours will be at least 5. So it had to be a good vibe. And don't get me wrong, I joke with the investors all the time, because they're like, man, y'all ask a lot of questions, but I could do questions. Questions is something we can do.
Yeah.
if you're just like a horrible person, that's not something we could do. So.
No, it matters, like building great relationships and working with people that you actually like can work with. Because like you said, you don't want to just take anybody's money. And that's why I've always been scared of like investors when it comes to like my media company, because we only cover positive news. Somebody might want to come in and be like, we're not really feeling that. So I've been working my way, like, how do we take on investors? Do we go the nonprofit route? And stuff like that. So I know you guys have to get off soon. So I want to ask too many more questions, but I'm definitely really enjoying you all. Can you walk me through the process of like where you are at with the end? So like when did you actually acquire the end, and then like what are the stages like where you feel like you're going to be complete with the project?
Okay, so we purchased the location on the 27th of December.
Oh, so a month ago today.
Yeah, a month ago. Yeah,
hey, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And our first, so we're taking this thing in phases. First phase was really understanding the current environment of how the hotel was operating. From that point, we had to look at staff and to see, what staff, we were going to keep, and what staff we were going to really release and work with.
But we will say we gave everyone the opportunity to stay. Some people chose, to pursue other ventures.
Right. So our like right now we're currently in the phase of stabilization, meaning we're looking at what things need to be fixed at, I would say, level 1. Like we have a maintenance person that's making sure that the hotel is good to go, identifying what issues need to be done, getting all of our certifications completed. Our next phase is our PIP. So that's going to be the major renovation of the hotel. So once we get that major renovation of the hotel, then the hotel will definitely have a new look, a new physical look to it. From that point, we'll look at what we can do to make things much better as far as operational wise.
And we're starting some of that already, and we have a few consultants. One of them is working to do outreach to the businesses in the community to see, get us some business contracts. We've been in contact with the Memphis Chamber, the Black Chamber in Memphis. So we're really, it's almost like everything all at once. We just watched that movie too. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good overview of the phases. I wanted to say something else and it totally just left my head. Oh, I was going to say that one of our tests will be later in the spring because we've invited all of our investors to come see the hotel and just get to know Memphis a little better. So it's going to be us two and like 30, because we've invited their guests too. So it's going to be the two of us and like 35, 40 people just hanging around Memphis later in the spring. So yeah, if they like it, we love it.
No, I think what you're doing is great. How does it feel for you to be at this point where you was like, I was thinking of idea, now it's a reality, and now you're getting like noticed for it? So like you're on a podcast, you're getting like the interviews, like people are looking at y'all and like looking at y'all as stakeholders, which you are. So how does that feel for you?
It feels great. Like, number one, I gotta thank God for this, because without him, without the blessing that he has given upon us to to have the opportunity to get recognized, that's hands down number one. It feels really great because I always want, we always talked about being role models for others to emulate, and we definitely want others to see if we can do it. We're regular and we're regular, and if we can do it, then anybody can do it. And the biggest thing with this is being humble, showing that humility, and not just getting so caught in the being recognized here, being recognized there, and now now you got the big head.
Yeah.
Just keeping that humility and giving credit to where credit is due.
People will never guess this, but Norland loves attention way more than I do. Yes, you do. I was he's more comfortable with attention. I'll rephrase that. No, you are, because I'll be running from like when the camera showed up to the news interviews, I was like, I'll be right back. And but this is all very
My
intentional.
5 minutes of fame.
15 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
But this is all very intentional how we kind of, I guess, planned our life. I always like tell people this story. So it was 2018, and I was flying to Miami to meet my sister. Norland was deployed overseas. I had just finished grad school, had just finished my doctorate, and graduated. And I am such a nervous flyer, so I always make friends with my seat partner, like my neighbors in the seat. So I was talking to this guy. I wish I could track him down. I'll never forget him. His name was Pastor Don. His name was Don, but then he was a tax guy, but he was also telling me how he was a pastor. So I was just like telling him my whole life story about my family, this, that, and the other, about Norland. And he was like, whatever you decide to do, like it's really you're gonna be elevated to a public eye. But you have to make sure that you do it with your husband, because he's the one that is always going to give the glory to God. And so he prophesied that to me. And I told Norland right away, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in our life, but at some point we're going to be like a couple that people look to, but we have to do it together. Like whatever we do, we have to do it together. So this is very intentional. And I think it's a space that needs a fresh faces. Black married couple. It's not, unfortunately, a lot of times when we see business success, it's like the man is just out front or the woman's just out front. So we're very intentional that we're a package deal for the most part. I will, Petey,
Sorry.
I am convinced every now and then to go do a talk or something on my own. But 95% of the time we're a package deal.
I love it. That's so cute. Like, you got me smiling over here. I love it. Well, I have one more question, and this is how I end all my interviews. When people when people listen to this interview, what do you want them to get from it?
I want them to get a couple that's intentional. I want them to get a couple. We always call ourselves a power couple. In fact, that's
other people call us that. We didn't start calling ourselves that.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, people gave us that.
I just adopted it.
Yeah,
and despite the situation that we find ourselves in, we always smile through it, and we have to smile through it despite it, because we've been through a lot in 2021. I mean, a lot. We have to smile through it, and we want to give encouragement to others, and also, just to let others, if you're in the Memphis area, please look us up. If you need a hotel to stay in, our hotel is always open to you.
You better tell them. You better tell them. This is the Carvd Stone podcast. My name is Nyesha Stone, and today we had Amina and Norland James, who just acquired a inn in Memphis, Tennessee, and y'all better go support it, okay, y'all? Amina and Norland James, thank y'all for always coming. Every Tuesday I interview someone else around the world about positive things going into their life, and we're going to keep continuing doing that. And remember, in the end, everything will be carved in stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.